Dun, dun, dun! Hello, beautiful people. Good morning. Yay. It's me, Robyn by Carpenter Briscoe, your favorite spiritual life coach. And I am here. It is Saturday morning. So there's, you know, things happening outside and people are waking up and they're getting their coffee. And I thought that we could spend a little time together. What do you think? I am grateful to be here with you to have another conversation around illimitable living. For those who have never been here before, or if you forgot, the word illimitable means unable to limit. The way I like to phrase it is illimitable. Limitation is not a consideration. Yes, yes, yes. Because why? Because we are illimitable beings. We have been born without limits. And any limit that we believe is there is one that was put there in our mind, not actually there. The blocks only exist in our mind. Yes? Good. Okay. So today, what are we talking about? Journaling. Yes. Today is about journaling. And so the title or the question that I chose for today is, why do you keep telling me to journal? And I started to think about this, like, I have been doing it for such a long time. You know, when I was young, it was Dear Diary, blah, 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 right? And I had a little lock on it and I put it in a little special place that I don't think was very difficult to find. But the reason that I journal so easily is because I've been doing it for so many years, like literally 40 years. I've been doing it most of my life. As soon as I felt confident enough to write sentences, I was journaling and did it inconsistently throughout my youth and have done it pretty consistently in my adulthood. So I would say I have been consistently journaling for at least 25 years. I thought I would give you a little peek at what it looks like for someone that journals as much as I do. Over the last, I would probably say 3 years, plus this one. Now, as you can see, I tab my journals because I have ideas while I'm journaling. And instead of letting them go, I put a tab there so later I can remember. Because this is something that I couldn't find the book. It's probably in a box because I'm having bookshelves built. And I really wanted to find this book because it was really the book that helped me kind of connect to the whole importance of journaling, which it's called The Vein of Gold, written by Julia Cameron, who is also the author of The Art of It's the Morning and My Brain Isn't Working. It'll come to me. But anyway, the book that I'm talking about is The Vein of Gold. And The Vein of Gold is a book for, both The Art of the Thing That I Can't Remember and Vein of Gold are books for people who are creators. If you consider yourself a creator, then they're really great books to use. And what will have to happen is make sure you follow me on Instagram and I will post pictures of the book I'm talking about. But for the time being, what you need to understand is part of the practice that was required doing this program in the book Vein of Gold was every day you had to write 3 pages in your journal, like 3 full pages. And if you are someone that doesn't really like to journal or is really adverse to journaling, you'll end up with a journal, you'll buy a journal that looks like this. This is one of my purse journals. If I am traveling and I don't want to carry like a big journal with me and doing all this stuff, or I'm trying to keep things down to a minimum, then I carry a journal in my purse to make sure that even though I'm having ideas, that they don't get lost. And you have to, people will say to me, Robyn, look at the notes on your phone. And I say, yes, I would have to look at the notes on my phone. That's a practice, right? That's a habit that you have to create. The journaling habit's been there way longer than smartphones. So I write it in a journal, and then later I go back and read it. So I would say, yes, you could do it this way. You could get the little tiny journal and you could easily write, 3 pages of pages like that size, right? Every day. Here's the deal. Journaling is not homework, it's inner work. I'm going to say it again. Journaling is not homework, it's inner work. I know that was like a drop mic moment, and I'm being very still about it because I want you to really understand how important this is. And I don't want to go, what? Boom! Ah! Okay, I totally did it. Seriously though, think about this. You are not journaling because you have to turn this in. Okay, that's not true. Sometimes, depending on a program that you're in, if journaling is required as part of your program, you do have to share parts of your journal, blah, blah. I've done this. However, real journaling that I feel is the most helpful, is the kind of journaling where you don't edit at all. There's no flowery words, there's cross outs, there's thoughts that you don't even want to admit that you're thinking. This is the beauty of a journal, is for us to get to that clear, small voice, which is your truth. And your truth does not have to speak loudly because it is truth. It doesn't have to shout. You need to listen. And for you to be able to hear it, you have to get all that noise out of your head. And the noise in your head are limiting beliefs. They're just bullshit that you're telling yourself. They're old things that someone told you. They're the old stories that someone told you who you are, as opposed to the true story of who you are, which is at your truth center, right? So all of that stuff is in your head because it's never gone anywhere and you've never said it to anybody, and you don't have anything to do with it. So if you journal, you can get the thoughts out of your head and put them somewhere else so that they no longer need to be in your head. You need to just admit them to yourself. Here's a couple of things. One, journaling is not homework. So it's not some painful thing that you need to do. I have to journal. That's not what it's supposed to be. 2, no one is judging you on your grammar, on your spelling, on your sentence structure. Again, this is not homework. So it doesn't matter that you don't know the perfect way to say it. It doesn't, because the only person you're saying it for is yourself. So no one is judging you unless you're judging you. And then I can't really do anything about that because that's something that you got to have a conversation with yourself around. So the point of the journal is for it to be the tool that you need to get the noise out of your head so that you can get to that clear understanding of who you really are. one of my favorite practices around journaling is in around the 4 agreements. So this is the 4 agreements. If you have never read it, do so. That's all that I have to say. But okay, that's not all I'm going to say. I'm going to say these are the 4 agreements, just so that we're clear. The 4 agreements: be impeccable with your word. Be impeccable with your word. Don't take anything personally. Don't make assumptions. Hello? Just look at the word assumption, right? And we know where it starts. So, do you really want to make assumptions? Because that makes... Always do your best. And that is really important, because every time you cheat, you say you're going to start a program and you cheat on it. You don't do it exactly the way it's supposed to be. You do the extra something, or you go, well, I'm just going to... The only person you're actually cheating is you. There's no teacher somewhere or something that's going to be like, oh, I saw you cheating. It means that the result of the reason you're doing whatever you're doing is not going to either happen as quickly or be as spectacular or good, whatever language you want to use. It's not going to be as effective or productive or whatever it is that it is supposed to be if you are cheating. So if you were taking a shortcut, then you were cutting not just the time that it takes or the way that you go, you are cutting out something that you probably really needed to know about in the middle. So if you are like, I'm going to do that thing that Robyn said, I'm going to journal three pages a day, and you start with this, right? Instead of even something like this, or this, which is just a tiny bit bigger. This, right? They keep getting slightly bigger. This has got all kinds of stuff in it. I need to read that again. To this. This was a gift from a friend on a little VIP adventure weekend that we did. I'm doing another one this next week, and I'm super excited. So you're only cheating yourself because you're not getting all your thoughts down. You're like getting the minimum down. So think about that. This is the companion book for the 4 agreements. And there's already a really great thing going on in the 4 agreements. However, the companion book is like, what the fuck? Who knew? So there is this thing that they're calling the practicing the idea for mastering awareness. Because remember, we have to be aware of what we're doing before we can change what we're doing. We have to be aware of our thoughts before we can change our thoughts. And as we know, if you change your thoughts, you change your life. Yes? Yes. So what it says that when we have ideas or thoughts about things, this is literally our book of law, the way that we think, the way that things are. This is the story that we're telling, and generally that's the story that we stick to. At the same time, because we're so unaware often of thoughts that we have or rules that we have created in our minds based on other people, we don't really even understand that we think that, and that we then have to have something to work on. See, it's always about deepening awareness, right? Deepening awareness. So the suggestion here is keep a separate journal for recording all the agreements you have made in your life. Label this journal the Book of Law and make a commitment to record every law, every rule, every agreement or belief that you become aware of for at least one full year. Keep your book of law within reach so you don't forget. So now, this is why I carry the journal, the pocket journal. Oh yeah, I did need a thing that I needed to write down. Why I really carry it around is because I found myself, thanks, Kristen. I'm glad you're watching. I found myself writing things on little tiny pieces of notes, like little notes of paper, and sticking those and I would find these little notes of paper all over the place. And so that is why I started having a purse journal or a bag journal or travel journal, because sometimes I'm writing and that giant journal is my regular everyday journal, and I'm just not going to carry that around with me. It gets really heavy, and I carry stones with me all the time. So the whole idea of getting those thoughts out of your head and remembering that isn't actually what you believe. That's some story someone told you. That's some story someone, gave to you. And that doesn't actually belong to you. However, you can't even acknowledge that you're thinking it unless you get it out of your head. And that is the beauty of a journal. It gets it out of your head. Another analogy is in Harry Potter. So if you're a Harry Potter fan, you will understand. If you were not, we don't have to talk about it. For those that are or were, before there were things said out loud in public and things, the story itself, there is Dumbledore in his office with Harry. And there's this pool in the office that has water in it. And he's like, what is that? And he's like, I can never remember what this thing is called. But what it is a place where he puts his memories, because it's getting in the way in his mind is getting too jumbled for him to have clear thought. But he doesn't want to lose the memory. So he uses his wand and he pokes it on his head and he does this thing like this, and then he puts it in the bowl. And so then if you want to remember it, or if you want to, so then you can see his memories, right? So that's when Harry put his face in the water and he saw all the things that happened to his uncle and blah, blah, blah. But anyway, the point is, it was like getting it, because I can't think right now. So, because there are too many thoughts going round and round and round your head. Often, the reason they're going round and round and round your head is because you do not want to admit that they're there. At least that is what happens to me. Well, it has happened in the past. I have less of a hard time admitting things to myself these days. Although sometimes it's still there. And then, boom, in my journal. And I'm like, ooh, didn't even realize I thought that. Boom, sometimes I have to admit stuff to myself that I didn't even realize was there until I was writing it in my journal. And I'm like, oh yeah, blah, blah. And I'm writing and everything's good. And all of a sudden, boom, I'm feeling this, and I'm crying, and I didn't even realize I felt like that. And this is real for me. And I'm saying it to whom? To myself. So now, here are a couple of things that I know come up when people have journals. One is the homework thing. It feels like homework, and I'm not in school anymore, so I don't want to have to do homework. Two, they judge themselves around their grammar, or I don't know how to say things, or, I don't know how to spell or whatever. Three, it has to be pretty. I have terrible handwriting. Blah, blah, blah. Four, in the past, someone has read your journal. Now, this is a massive trust thing, right? You were writing things that just belong to you, and then someone else read them. Usually someone who you were talking about in your journal because you needed to say it to somebody and you didn't necessarily want to talk, because sometimes, particularly if you're in a relationship, you don't always want to talk about what's going on for you with other people. You simply need a witness that it's happening. And your journal is your witness. Because sometimes in order to say it to someone else, first you need to be able to say it to yourself. It's just like coming out. Before you can come out to anybody, and coming out for anything, it doesn't have to be having anything to do with your sexual orientation or gender expression. It could have to do that you have to admit to your friends that you eat corn dogs every National Corn Dog Day, which was yesterday, by the way. Because your friends are all vegan and you're a vegan except on National Corn Dog Day. And that's because corn dogs always make you think of your grandpa when he used to take you to the state fair and you'd have corn dogs together and blah, blah, blah. So every day on National Corn Dog Day, you have a corn dog. But you don't want to tell everybody all of those things because it's not really important. It's just something that you do. So you say it to your journal. Today's National Corn Dog Day, and I know my people are going to be, and I'm going to be sick and all the things, but I'm going to have my corn dog from my grandpa. It could be something as normal and ordinary as that, or it could be you're coming out as, as a lesbian like I did. Anyway, so you need to be able to admit something to yourself, and this admitting it to yourself in your journal is a really great first step. So when someone reads it, it's this massive violation, right? And it makes you then it makes one of two things. Either you'll keep journaling because you still need to keep taking things out of your head, right? Except stuff that's really important about, say, that person that read your journal, you don't write in there anymore. So now stuff you really needed to work out doesn't get worked out because you started editing. And remember, that was the first thing I told you, was that you got to write in your journal, no editing, all just words out of your head onto the paper. And sometimes it's just words on the paper. You don't even realize the words are in your head. So I understand this. I had a client who was an artist who had this as an issue. And so how they journaled was that they sketched. Instead of writing the words out, they sketched what was going on for them. And it wasn't like a comic book of the thing that happened. What it was a it was like how they felt. Like they sketched how they were feeling at that moment on that day. And so they were still able to process the stuff without it looking as though they were expressing things that were going on for them, because they knew that that wasn't necessarily a safe space to have their thoughts read. So that is a possibility. The other possibility, if you're like, Robyn, already I don't like my handwriting, so don't tell me to draw it because I really don't draw, okay? So I'm going to say, okay, that's fine. Do this. Write it out. Literally get it out of your head. Then every day, burn it. Burn it. Shred it. Get rid of it. It needs to get out of your head. You don't necessarily have to use your journal the way I do. Like, as I said, with all of the tabs and remembering all the things that I remembered. This is how I use my journal. I use my journal as, and at one point I didn't do this either. I used to have like 2 and 3 journals going at the same time. So depending on what kind of thought I was having, it was going to go in that journal. And then I realized that wasn't going to work because sometimes I would have the wrong journal with me at the time I was having a thought. And then I would write that thought in whatever journal was available, and then later would not remember which journal I had written it in. So I'm going to not suggest that. This, however, this one thing that they were talking about that in the 4 Agreements Companion was you have a journal, and then you have a separate journal that's specifically your book of law journal. And at the same time, it also said carry with you everywhere. So if you're going to do 2 separate journals, the everyday kind of I'm just thinking thoughts and these are my thoughts on my head journal, then you could do that and then do the book and then carry it with you. You can journal digitally. I mean, if you really, really, really don't want to write things on paper, or that's not something that you're able to do for whatever reason, then you can journal digitally. Just keep it, right? Get the thoughts out of your head and put them somewhere. So later, if you need to express them to someone, if you need to remember a thing, I can tell you every really challenging thing in my life where at the time that it happened, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. And then I went back and read in my journal. It was there, all of it. But I do the thing where I journal and it just dump it, right? So I used to. I don't anymore. I read back in my journals all the time now. But before, because I've tabbed them, I have to, right? But previously, I literally just dumped. I just mind dumped. That was how I started. The vein of gold, that was the suggestion, was like, don't edit, simply write. When I first started really dedicating myself to this, there would be days where it's like, I have no idea what I'm writing. And I would be writing, I have no idea what I'm writing. I'm just going to keep writing words until words come to me. Blah, blah, blah. Like someday, and I would write about I was awakened last night by this woman fighting in the street with her man, blah, 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 just telling stories, writing things, not knowing what, and then other things would come, right? Whatever was going on for me would come and I would write it out. And then later I went back and read it and it was like, oh my God, it was right here. When my ex broke up with me, I had written for 3 months, at least 2 or 3 times a week, that something was going on with her. I didn't know what it was. She keeps saying that everything's fine. I think she's going to break up with me. So now the question you ask yourself is, was I projecting and then that's why she broke up with me? Or was I not paying attention because I had already been saying that something was up and I should, whatever. You can, hindsight, right? Hindsight is bullshit. Because you're just making stuff up that didn't happen. But it happened the way it happened, and that's the deal. What I can tell you is later, after I had moved out and moved to Massachusetts out of New York, after leaving New York after almost 17 years, and I was by myself, crying, alone, reading old journals because I was like, I have no life. I'll read about my old life. And I wrote, and then I was like, oh my God, it's right here. It was right here all along. So that kind of was this you knew all along. It was the beginning of me trusting myself. It was the beginning. The second principle of joy, trust yourself. That, my friends, that is why we journal. And we find a way, whatever your journal needs to look like, make it that. You could do a vision board every day in a journal, and that would be your journal, because it would be a recognition of what was going on for you that day. It would be a major experience that you could go through. Maybe do it for 30 days. Maybe we'll do that. Maybe we'll do a live vision board every day for 30 days. I don't know. I'm looking for a new thing to do with you guys because I miss our everyday thing that we did with the magic and the crystals. So the last thing I want to bring up is a stone because, hello. So this is sodalite. You can see I've got a couple of different options to wear. I've got this. Who knows where I get these? Thrift stores, gifts. So sodalite is the writer's stone. That is literally what they call it. So when you're using sodalite, it is a stone that's going to help you. What's interesting about it is it's a fifth chakra stone, right? Those blue stones, those fifth chakra, it's fifth, and then sixth chakra, third eye, right? Because it's about speaking your truth and literally knowing what that is, right? So, and speaking can clearly come in the form of writing. It does not have to be out of your mouth. It is a connection of energy. So sodalite, if you notice, so I'm wearing this on my writing hand. I am right-handed, so I am wearing this on my writing hand. So if you're going to use sodalite as a stone to help you with your writing, wearing it is a great way to do that. Wearing it on your writing hand as you are writing. If you were planning on writing a book, I would definitely tell you to get sodalite, and then also kyanite, blue kyanite specifically, not just kyanite, because kyanite comes in lots of colors. These are they are throat chakras, but they are literally how to find your words and how to craft your words stones. So they are great if you are writing a paper for school, writing a report for work, writing your memoirs, writing whatever you're writing a memo, whatever kind of writing you have to do. Sodalite and then, as I said, blue kyanite are great stones to have with you. I really love sodalite. It's got this kind of warm, comforting, trustingness about it as a stone. If you are not into stones and crystals yet, then it's a very difficult thing to understand when I'm saying that about how a stone feels. This could be a stone that you want to try out. You're like, okay, I'm going to do the thing. I'm going to do this journaling thing again. So I'm going to get a brand new journal. I always say, if you're going to try journaling, start with a brand new journal and write yourself a dedication. I dedicate this journal to myself and my adventures and my illimitability. So we, do that, and then, get a nice pen, do all the things so that the time that you spend journaling is this wonderful gift time that you're giving to yourself. So doing that is a really great way. And then wearing your sodalite is one way. You can absolutely have sodalite stones with you. I'm sure I have sodalites, but I don't think I have any in the studio with me. Because I like to wear it so much as a writing stone. So put it next to you as you're journaling. Put it on your journal, and then it's there for you. Hold it in your hand. I know I have a sodalite out there because I have a sodalite palm stone like this. It's this size, but this is labradorite, right? But so because I sometimes I'll hold it in my hand. Sometimes, okay, so your dominant hand, your writing hand is, the power of the stone is coming out of you and coming out of your hand, and it's going da 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 da, and it's coming out, right? What if you are unsure of your words? What if you don't really know what to do? What if you're not really sure what is next, or how to say it, or the words are, you're having trouble coming to you? Then you put it in your non-dominant hand, or you switch, if you were going to wear bracelets, you switch wrists, right? And you ask you connect with the energy to help you find the words. Yes? Yes. That, my friends, that is all I have for you today. Get you that journal. Understand why it's so important. It is not homework, it's inner work. It doesn't matter if you have the best words. It doesn't matter if the words you use have 1 and 2 syllables versus 3, 4, 5, and 6 syllables. None of that matters. What matters is it's for you. What matters is that you understand that it is the tool that is going to help you get clear on that voice of your true self, your true authentic self, your authentic, illimitable self. It is going to help you get to spiritual empowerment. You will finally live the freedom of being your authentic, illimitable self at all times without fear or apology. Yes? Yes. I'm grateful for you. Thank you for spending time with me today. I'll see you next week. We have a guest next week. So until then, remember, my friends, you really, really are. You are illimitable. So go out and create a life that rocks. I love you. I'll see you soon. Bye.